how many countries are in the world? Oh, you want me to answer that? Well, it's complicated, but I can get into it. All right, let's count. We've got Afghanistan, Albania, Algeria, Andorra, Angola. Actually, it's probably just much easier to ask the UN. The General Assembly of the United Nations recognizes 195 distinct and independent countries in the world today. Okay, cool. So 195. I can do that. If I spend a week visiting each country, then it will only take me, let's see, carry the 3 and 9 times 7 is 63. Divide that by pi. Only a little under 4 years. Yeah, I can do that. Can't I? First, let's consider, why do these 195 countries get to be considered countries? Countries come in all shapes and sizes. Some are huge like Canada, Russia, China, or Australia. Some are teeny tiny like Singapore and Monaco that are only the size of a single city. So, what defines the word country? A country is an area of land that forms an independent political unit within its own government. Another common word for country is state. This might be confusing for people in the United States, Australia, Mexico, Brazil, India, and a few others who break their own countries into separate states. The word state in the global sense is usually a synonym of the word country. So the United States is a state that has 50 states. Does that make our total number 245 states? But then what about the states in other countries too? Yeah, this is the part of the reason the question is complicated. According to our definition for a country, there are two specific components that make a place a country. First, there has to be a defined area of land. Second, there has to be an independent government which is in charge of that piece of land. That's the basic definition. But, as we will learn in a moment, not everybody always agrees on who is in charge of that piece of land. And because of that, not everybody agrees on which countries are actually countries.
Mind if I cut in here for a second? In addition to all the different shapes and sizes of the land, there are different types of governments that control the land. Many countries are what we call democratic republics. In democratic republics, the citizens of the country are able to choose their leaders, and then those leaders make laws for the country. Other countries are called monarchies. In a monarchy, a king or similar leader makes the laws and leads the country. A lot of countries have something in between or something different altogether. Understanding the types of political structures is a huge part of understanding both countries and understanding human geography.
That's a good point. Different governments are definitely part of answering our complicated question. In addition to these defining elements, the land and the government that controls the land, there's probably one more element that's just as important when it comes to actually defining a country: recognition. Any area of land can claim they're a country, and lots of people claim to have started their own country. There are people who have claimed to set up tiny countries all over the world. These are called micronations. But the truth is, unless other countries recognize you as a country, and unless those other countries have a relationship with your country, then I hate to break it to you, but you might not actually be a country. Now, this is where things get a little bit tricky, and to be completely honest, kind of politically sensitive. This is because there are several areas of the world with a distinct area of land and a government which controls that land. And some of these areas even have support from some other recognized countries. But these claims are often disputed. Often, and sadly, this is the result of ongoing conflict in the country. Sometimes conflicts which have lasted for many years. In some cases, new countries have broken away and claimed independence, but have not been recognized by most other countries in the world. Because of this, they are usually not added into this list of countries like those who are fully recognized by the United Nations. Here is an example: Kosovo. Kosovo is located in what was a former country called Yugoslavia. When Yugoslavia broke into several countries in the 1990s, Kosovo was a part of one of those new countries, Serbia. However, ongoing conflict led Kosovo to declare independence from Serbia. But Serbia does not recognize the full independence of Kosovo. Neither do many other countries. At the present time, Kosovo is recognized as an independent country by almost 100 other countries. That's a lot. But remember, there are 195 recognized countries in the world. This means there are roughly about the same number of countries that do not recognize Kosovo as a country as those who do. Let's look at another example with a bit more in terms of recognition. You've likely heard of the state Palestine. You might be aware that there have long been disputes over land in this part of the Middle East. The state of Palestine controls certain areas next to Israel, most notably the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. Today, nearly 140 other countries recognize Palestine as an independent and sovereign country, while approximately 50 to 60 other countries still do not recognize Palestine. So, would we consider Kosovo and Palestine to be official countries? If we were talking about recognition in the United Nations, then the current answer is kind of? I'll explain that in a minute. But for now, I will leave the answer of that question up to you. Both Kosovo and Palestine definitely fit some parts of the definition of a country. First, they both have distinct land area. And second, they both have a government that controls their territory. In addition, they both have partial recognition, but not universal recognition by all other independent countries in the world. Okay, enough with the trumpet. See where it might get confusing? For the sake of our definitions today, we will use the recognition of the United Nations General Assembly as an official definition of what constitutes a country. It might not be the most perfect yardstick, but in practical terms, it might be the most definitive answer we currently have. The United Nations is a group of 195 countries around the world who meet together to discuss issues of mutual global interest. These 195 countries include 193 countries who are full official members of the UN, as well as 2 observer states who are able to participate in the United Nations but who do not have a vote in proceedings. Who are those observer states? Well, one is the state of Palestine. Can you guess the other? If you say Kosovo, I'm sorry, I set you up with a trick question. The actual answer is Vatican City, the city in central Rome, which functions as an independent country and is the global headquarters of the Roman Catholic Church. So, why is the state of Palestine considered a country in the eyes of the United Nations General Assembly, but not Kosovo? And why is Palestine only an observer state and not a full voting member of the United Nations? Well, here's what it takes to become a full member of the United Nations. First, all 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council, which are the United States, China, Russia, the United Kingdom, and France, must approve of a country becoming a member state. In the case of both the state of Palestine and Kosovo, this has not yet been achieved. Second, 2/3 of the current UN General Assembly, which is the group of all of the countries that are currently member states of the UN, must vote for the country to join. This has happened for the state of Palestine, but not yet for Kosovo. This is why only the state of Palestine has been admitted as an observer state, but not a full voting member. They have the 2/3 majority of the General Assembly, but all members of the UN Security Council have to recognize Palestine. 3 members of that group, the United States, the United Kingdom, and France have not yet fully recognized Palestine. In the case of Kosovo, the other two members of the UN Security Council, Russia and China, have not recognized them as a country. In addition, Kosovo needs about 30 more countries in the General Assembly to recognize them as a country before they are given observer status. These are complex political issues. However you choose to define a country, whether using our definition, the UN's definition, or another definition altogether, hopefully now you have a better sense of what main ingredients are needed to make a country in the world today. Here are a few fun facts about countries before we go. The country with the most land in the world is Russia. The smallest country by size is Vatican City. The country with the largest population in the world is China, with more than 1.4 billion people, though India will likely surpass them in 2027. The country with the smallest population in the world is, again, Vatican City, with only about 800 people. Canada has the coldest average temperature, while Russia has had the coldest temperature ever recorded. Burkina Faso is the hottest country on average, while the hottest recorded temperatures were in the United States. The newest or youngest independent country to be recognized by the United Nations is South Sudan, who joined in 2011. I hope you had fun learning about what makes a country, well, a country today. See you next time.